Okay, so The Last of Us 2 just dropped and people are not happy. I, however, loved it. I think it's thematically deep and resonant, it has a lot of nuance, and it fits the themes and the world established in the first game, whilst also delivering a true and endearing sequel that deals with the consequences of the first game. I'd say the most dominant theme in this game is that of revenge and the corruptive nature of it, as well as themes of friendship, love, the importance of perspective, and it very clearly explores our own sense of morality and what we're willing to forgive in our characters that we love. Now, in this video I want to address some of the controversies in this game. First of all, not that this should be an issue, but Abby isn't transgender. She's a woman with muscles. People didn't like this. Apparently it panders to the LGBT community too much. Even though The Last of Us has always had LGBT elements with Ellie being gay, it's also always had a very strong female presence with both Tess and Ellie in the first games. So all that aside, Abby is fucking hated. Now, that's the point. You're meant to hate her. It's written this way for a reason. Hating her at the start is intentional. In the beginning of the game, she kills Joel in a brutal and, at the time, seemingly unforgivable way. However, thanks to perspective, we later see her side of things. Her father, who was a kind and caring man, was killed in cold blood by Joel, and we, the player, actually pulled the trigger on this in the first game. We, through Joel, turn Abby into an orphan and send her on a warpath. The same warpath that Ellie embarks on throughout this game. However, when Ellie goes after Abby's people, cutting throats, torturing and brutalising, we support it because we love Ellie and we love Joel and we understand her anger. I'll get back to that later, but I want to talk about Abby first. The second half of the game then shifts perspective and we see the events of Seattle through Abby's eyes, seeing her friends get killed by Tommy and Ellie, seeing why she hated Joel, rightfully so, and seeing why she is the way she is. Her friends are made likeable to the audience too, as we are shown that they're not cold-blooded killers. They hated Joel, but they still didn't like the way that Abby killed him. Owen even tells her to mercy kill him.
End it. Now.
They're far, far from evil. Abby is twisted for hatred for Joel after losing her father to him. And through this she becomes a mirror of Ellie, as Ellie loses her way too after losing her surrogate father in Joel. Ellie and Abby are mirrors of one another, two sides of the same coin, and the sharing of perspective in this game emphasises that. It's fucking good storytelling, but people are so angry, and they hate Abby so much that they can't see that. This game also deals explicitly with the consequences of the first game, making it a true sequel. We knew back in 2013, the first time playing the game, that Joel was wrong in what he did to the Fireflies. They weren't bad people. Some of them were just scientists, like Abby's father, who is later revealed in the second game to be incredibly reluctant about having to kill Ellie. And yet Joel slaughtered them, and we supported it because we love him, and we saw his perspective. We saw how we couldn't lose another daughter. We empathised with him. However, this never justified his actions, and the final shot in The Last of Us shows this. It tells us that what he did will bite him in the arse, and it does. This game, The Last of Us 2, runs with this idea. Abby is the human incarnation of Joel's consequences. She's the girl that he orphaned, a girl of similar age to Ellie, who lost her father because of Joel. Then, like poetry, Abby takes away Joel in revenge, symbolically orphaning Ellie and sending her on the same path that Abby just took. This cycle of revenge is steeped in irony and it's brilliant. However, most audiences couldn't see past their hatred for Abby. I think a lot of people placed Joel onto a pedestal and didn't like the fact that we play as his killer. But I love that Naughty Dog didn't pander to this. They went their own way. They explored and re-examined what Joel did in the first game by making you relate to and play as the girl who was a victim to his actions. We always knew Joel had a sketchy past, and that mix of what he does in The Last of Us means he's not a truly great moral character. However, he's still a great character. He's complex and he's nuanced, he's traumatised and his actions express this. But in order for this game to continue the story of the first, it has to deal with the consequences of the first game. And the best way to do that is to kill Joel, and they knew that. I even agree with the way that he was killed off, and how early on. They do it early, so it sends Ellie on a warpath and gets the ball rolling with the plot. And they did it in such a shocking way that the audience rages with Ellie. We hate the bitch that killed Joel, and we want to play as Ellie whilst we kill Abby. It makes the first half of the game cathartic as fuck as we slice through our enemies. In killing Joel, Naughty Dog places us directly into Ellie's shoes. It was ballsy, but not just ballsy for the sake of it. It helps Ellie's story move along and helps us to feel her pain. And then, once that initial shock wears off, and a few hours has been invested, we see Abby's side of things. And it's a great piece of storytelling, having the first half be about revenge, and the second half re-examining everything you've done and witnessed. But this non-linear storytelling is great. It turns the game from a linear, basic story about a girl getting revenge on her adopted father's killer into a nuanced story about two girls with similar lives whose circumstances, as well as the corruptive nature of revenge, forces them against each other. There's no bad guys or good guys in this whole story. They also never demonize Ellie. She's never irredeemable, nor is Abby, remarkably, even though she kills Joel. Look, I also hated Abby at the start, but at the end of the game I kind of loved her, because I saw what Naughty Dog was doing and I could look past my own shit. Abby even spurs Ellie and Tommy at the start. She only tries to kill Tommy later on, once Ellie and Tommy have tore through all of her friends, and we've fucking seen that happen ourselves. She also kills Jesse quickly, in the exact same way that Manny is killed by Tommy, again echoing the fact that Abby and Ellie are mirrors of one another. Neither does more to one than the other. It's clear that Joel started this chain of events. I know we love him, but he started this by killing Abby's dad. Abby goes after Joel, and only him, sparing everyone else. Ellie then goes berserk, which we understand and agree with, just like we agreed with Joel in the first game. And just like with Joel, we realise that Ellie is not righteous in doing this, as she kills innocent people in her path, and kills Abby's friends and loved ones. In the end, there's countless casualties on both sides. Ellie even killed a would-be family. Even though this was an accident, she still did it. Abby and Ellie have taken so much from each other, and despite this, Abby spared Ellie a second time. Mostly because of her new friend who can see past the needless hate, which is ironic, seeing as the standard audience couldn't see past their hatred for Abby. Also, one thing that I haven't touched on is that thanks to this non-linear storytelling, Joel actually has a character arc even within this game. We see him quite a lot in flashbacks, and these flashbacks feel natural and seamless as they happen whilst Ellie looks back on her memories of Joel. There's a whole subplot exploring Ellie and Joel's rocky 5-year history, spanning from Last of Us 1 to 2. He dies at the start to send Ellie on her path and get the game rolling in a way that's even more shocking and emotional than Sarah's death at the start of the first game. However, we later get to see him be a father to Ellie, taking her out on her birthday to see a museum, which actually again mirrors Owen taking Abby to the aquarium. We see Joel teaching her guitar, and we also see Ellie finally learning the truth of the Fireflies in an emotional way. We see the sheer desperation in Joel's voice when she finds out, and that last glance at the end of the first game is finally paid off in this inevitable conflict between Ellie and Joel. This game ends with a final flashback, showing the night before Joel's death, which is the night before the very start of the game, chronologically. We only see the aftermath of this night initially, but finally at the end of the game we see the conclusion of the night, which is the last time Ellie ever sees Joel, and it is beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, as she reveals she can finally try to forgive him for taking away the chance for her life to mean something by sacrificing herself for humanity. So throughout the game we see the 5 years they had together, the happy early years, and the eventual falling out between them as Ellie finds out Joel's dark secret. We even see the bodies of some teenagers which are killed from the cordyceps infection, and Ellie is saddened by the fact that they could have been saved if the Fireflies developed a cure in the first game, subtly foreshadowing her eventually finding out the truth, as well as driving home the sheer, far-reaching consequences of Joel's actions in The Last of Us 1. Everything in this game is calculated, nuanced, complex, and steeped in layers of symbolism. It's a beautiful story, and it's criminal that people can't see past their own biases. It's a very similar problem to The Last Jedi, which is a whole separate video, But the point is that people put characters on pedestals when they love them so much, and they don't like these characters being touched. It looks like some people wanted Joel to go out in some fan servicey blaze of glory, trying to save Ellie or something. And as epic as that would have been, it wouldn't serve the story enough. I honestly think the way it was handled was perfect, and if you see this story or play this game, try and see the beauty in it, and don't just blindly hate it. Joel couldn't have died a hero's death because he wasn't a hero. He was a troubled man, a survivor, who just wanted to save his adopted daughter. Because he was still 20 years on, traumatised by the death of his biological daughter, Sarah. Also, the ending went the exact way that I was hoping it would. Which is funny because the ending is something that is criticised by so many people. It ended in an epic, gritty, brutal fight between Abby and Ellie. The entire game was built up to this. Prior to this, however, Ellie finally settles down with Dina and her kid. They have a picturesque home. Ellie is struggling with clear PTSD, and then Tommy comes by, visibly crippled yet still alive. His injuries I found were symbolic of the corruptive nature of revenge. His search for vengeance led him to being crippled and broken outside and in. He pleads to Ellie to not give up on her quest for revenge and to go after Abby, and finally she does, turning her back on Dina in a bid for revenge. Abby also had her own adventure with her new friend. They go in search for the Fireflies. Abby has finally let her past go, and her hatred for Joel and Ellie go. She's ready to face the Fireflies again and try and rejoin their new ranks. She finally contacts them, but is later attacked by a gang of raiders. Ellie then rescues Abby, only to stop her from fleeing at the last minute, insisting that they fight. The two have a brutal, visceral and bloody fight, going tooth and nail, and Ellie is about to win. She's beaten and she's had 2 fingers bitten off, and just before killing Abby, she lets go. Abby sails off, ready to start her new life and mend her wounds, mentally and physically. Whereas Ellie is left crying in the water. She finally goes back to the ranch. She can't play guitar anymore because of her lost fingers, a metaphor for how her journey and her revenge path took something away from her. It left scars that will never truly heal, and she'll never be the same. However, she's finally ready to let it all rest, to forgive Joel, and more importantly, forgive Abby. She remembers the last conversation she had with Joel, when she said she would try to forgive him, and presumably she then returns to Jackson to be with Dina. It's a beautiful, bittersweet ending about forgiveness, where the cycle of revenge and anger is ended finally. It's storytelling at its finest, and I hope one day it finally gets its dues. For now, however, I'll continue to love this game, as well as many underappreciated gems that maybe one day I'll review and make videos on.